Welcome back along to the Carp Chronicles podcast, episode number 66, with the awesome Mr. Frank Warwick. Now, it's a little bit bittersweet. Loved recording the episode with Frank, but unfortunately, the freaking line cut out after about 2 odd hours, which I was absolutely gutted about because I felt like we didn't even scratch the surface. Like I didn't get to ask Frank about different aspects of bait or his rigs I wanted to talk to him about. It just went by very quickly. And yeah, as I say, the line cut out, which is a massive shame. But nonetheless, there is loads of info in this podcast. I know you're all going to love it. And yeah, it's going to be a good one. Before I jump into it, I will give you an update on OptiBaits, as I always do. We have a few new products coming out, which I've been working very, very hard on. Been putting a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and a hell of a lot of time into these products. And I just know they are going to be flagship products for OptiBaits. And I really, really do think they're going to take the bait world by storm. And that's a bold statement, but I'm very, very excited about them and extremely confident in them. So I've got 2 new natural extracts called TasteX and MeatX. I'll let you read about them on the website. They will transform your bait to absolutely new levels. They are both superb additives, and yeah, they'll just take things to a next level. I'm just blown away by how effective they are. As well as that, I've got a new hook bait out called Peach Amino, which is a little bit different in as much as it's a lower flavor level, but higher levels of amino acids and a few organic acids and some other things as well. So whilst they aren't as strong flavor-wise, they are very, very potent to carp, and they undergo a bit of more of a lengthy process. So I make an in-house solution of different things, as I said, amino acids, organic acids, carotenoids, and then I apply that over the top for a few days before they're ready to use. So yeah, very excited about those. Again, they're called Peach Amino hook baits. They're available on the website, OptiBaits, along with everything. And also I have 2 new highly concentrated flavors coming out. When I say highly concentrated, I mean they are highly concentrated. Literally 0.5 ml per kilo is all you'll need. You can work with higher levels than that if you want to, but 0.5 ml and you're getting the next level from your bait. So 2 flavors, as I say. First one, wild berry. The complexity and the depth and body to this flavor is just outstanding. It is phenomenal. I think it will be my best flavor yet, in all honesty. It is that good. Again, I won't be too over the top on it, but just phenomenal. Read about it on the website. The other one is the original recipe Mega Spice, but obviously in a highly, highly concentrated version. Mega Spice of old was a lot weaker than this is, but I can assure you it is the exact spice blend of old. Massively excited about that. Mega Spice needs no introduction. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute winner, and it's going to make a lot of people very, very happy. As well as that, a few weeks ago, it's already on the website actually, it's been on the website for about a month in fact, is my squid and octopus with high alkalinity. Again, smell that, you will be transported back in time. It's like a time machine. Phenomenal flavour. Again, loads of depth and body to it. What I'm doing with my flavours, I'm not just, being all top note heavy, which is literally what everyone else is doing. There's depth, there's body, there's actual rich taste to these flavors. They're very, very different from other things out there. And yeah, that one is catching so many fish. It seems to be really catching a lot of barbel as well, which is interesting. I don't fish with barbel, don't know much about them. But yeah, it's a hit with the barbel anglers. Anyway, so that's it. I've got the natural extracts, the new hook baits, the 2 new flavor concentrates, and then the squid and octopus that came out about a month ago. And yeah, just couldn't be prouder, couldn't be more excited. Go ahead, check them out at optibaits.com. That is optibaits.com if you're interested in them at all. Without further ado, let's jump into this episode with Mr. Frank Warwick.
when I was massively into it, going to Manchester Library, the Central Library, before the internet and everything, I used to go and sit there, and I felt like every day I spent in there studying was worth 10 on the bank.
Mm.
And in the early days, because I was hungry for knowledge, and I used to get Benelotti's Ultimate Flavour Guide out and see how flavours were made.
Yeah.
This was in the 70s, early 80s. And then I used to read up on the same guide was about, basically essential oils, where they got them from, all the different presses, how they were procured, grown, uses, everything. So I used to, really, really go into it. So in them days, I was kind of like, I suppose, like Tim Paisley in the early days when you're hungry for knowledge, you're basically sucking it all in.
Yeah.
And then it was almost like when you're studying for a degree or A-levels or something like that, where it's nice to flex your muscles and show off all your knowledge of all the, bits and pieces. So your peers think, Jesus, this guy's the bollocks. He knows all the technical stuff. But it actually isn't quite like going out on the bank and doing a few game changers where you're actually ripping the arsehole out of it and going, holy shit, didn't expect it to be that good. But it's brilliant. Yeah. So I think that's where I'm getting at. I think the happy balance between making all your own bait. I mean, I find it really sad that a lot of people don't at least make hook baits.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think, imagine sat there and you don't know what the fuck's in anything that you've got on the end of your rig. I mean, one of the great joys of carp fishing, always to me, and I suppose from my era, was the fun of putting your own bait together, or being. I mean, there was no limits when I was younger. I remember using, when you see a cow shit that's dried out.
Yeah.
Well, if you lift it up, you'll see a blue bugs inside it, like big blue. I suppose they're like grubs.
Right.
The dung beetle type of grubs. They're like a giant maggot. Well, I tried them, and they were just phenomenally brilliant for stalking. I mean, they worked instantly. Whether it was the smell of the cow shit on them, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or whether they were just attractive in their own right. But nothing was off the table. I tried everything. Berries off the trees, It didn't matter if there was a tree overhanging the lake. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily know if they were toxic or anything.
Yeah.
But I tried them, and I caught, tons of fish using naturals like that. So the interesting bait, and the fact that you can, we're fishing for omnivores that are not too choosy about what they'll sample, is fascinating. That's one of the great thrills of it all, isn't it?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, and I agree with you. By the way, I think probably a fairly good understanding of how they work and detect food is essential, isn't it? But beyond that, you can't beat just spending time on the bank, seeing what works. Let the fish tell you what is going to work, not a white paper. That's really where it is. And I spend a lot less time now reading up on papers than I used to. A hell of a lot less.
Me too.
Yeah, and if I not this is about me at all, but if I think of like the very best little, quote unquote edges, as people call them, that I've got now, I think it probably came from a bit of knowledge to know what to try, but probably all of them are things that really surprised me. I tested them. It's like, holy shit, look at that. And that's the way to go, isn't it? I think
it is. Yeah. I mean, when I think back, some of the things to try, sometimes in desperation as well, where you think you've got it right and then it's not working for some reason. And you're thinking, what do I need to do? And the thing that I remember trying that was pretty sensational. I mean, I shouldn't really say this, but it happened and it's the past now. But I was very heavily into adding naturals to the food bait. not necessarily hook baits, but to food baits. And I remember I was doing a work party on a place near Middlewich in Cheshire. And it was called Tetton, this lake. And we had our chest waders on. We waded in the water, and every footstep you took, you were standing on massive swan mussels. It was literally a sea of swan mussels. And you were crunching them, and it was a shame, because they take a long time to get to that size.
Yeah.
And I thought, do you know what? It's a shame to waste them. So I harvested all the ones that had been stood on, and more, if I'm honest. I could fill a bucket with them, or buckets, and they don't last 2 minutes. I took some that were alive back with me as well. And I put them in an aquarium, and because they've not got the food and the silt that they live in to keep them, sustain them, they soon die. Anyway, I shelled them all and then liquidized them, which isn't great because I found out later on they're protected. I think it was British Nature or somebody. I did a talk and mentioned it, and this guy says, "Can I have a word with you?" He says, you do know that swan mussels are protected. I said, "Oh, shit, I didn't realise." I said, and here's me talking about liquidizing about 10 kilo of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I added them you must have used liquidized squid in the past.
Yeah.
Calamari. Yeah, I've done it loads of times, and it really did work great. Anyway, it was another take on that, so I put swan mussel into the bait that I was using at the time, which was a fish meal. And I've been fishing a place called the Top Flash in Winsford, and I only had just part of a Sunday, basically. My wife, or my girlfriend at the time, she worked on Manchester Airport, and she didn't drive, so I had to start at 6 o'clock in the morning on this place and then pick her up from work at 2:30 in the afternoon. So you can imagine it wasn't great fun. I worked in advertising at the time, so some of the locals were comparing their results that were full-timers with me doing just part of the Sunday morning. Anyway, it's a bit frustrating, but I remember thinking I need to make it all happen in such a short time. And it wasn't one of them kind of waters, it was one of them where you had to basically put quite a lot of time in to get them out. And I remember doing the swan mussel bait and going down there, and I had 6 bites. First time I tried it. And I thought, wow, it's unbelievable. It smelled like fresh shellfish, even though it's not from the sea. It had that same smell to it that was quite unique. And so I'm not saying for people to go out harvesting swan mussels and try this, but it just shows how a chance occurrence where you decide to try something can be spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also tried it. It's illegal, by the way, so I must point this out. Another illegal thing that I've probably done in the past was salmon eggs.
Oh, right.
I was liquidizing fresh salmon eggs.
Why is that illegal? Is it presumably it's the harvesting of them that's illegal?
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think they consider it an unfair advantage.
Oh, right.
Certainly in match fishing.
Right. Okay.
And my uncle used to be second in command on Northwest Water, and there was a big incidence of poaching in Cumbria, up in the Lake District. And what the poachers were doing was using salmon eggs in pools, and they were attracting a lot of the fish by dumping a load of salmon eggs in that they'd liquidized, and they were adding it to something else as well. I don't know the full details of it, but the salmon would all congregate, and then they'd cyanide it or net it. And some of the NRA bailiffs were assaulted and beat up with pickaxe handles, threatened with shotguns.
Well,
it's quite serious.
Yeah.
So they arrested they had armed police and everything, and some of the evidence at the time, this was in the early 80s, was the Russian night vision goggles.
Right.
They were evidence. My uncle had to take them to court, and also was tons of salmon eggs, which they kept in a freezer. Once they'd done the court case, he says, "We're going to chuck these away." He says, "Do you want them?" So I said, "Yeah, I want the salmon eggs." So the idea was to just liquidize them and put them in my bait. And it worked because on Reedsmere, if you got 10 fish in a year, then it was spectacular. And I put it in my bait and in my hook baits, and I think it was 11 fish, 820s opening day of the season on that.
Jeez.
So it definitely worked. And interestingly enough, by the 1st of September from the 16th of June, I'd had 37 fish.
Jeez. When was this? Long time ago?
Yeah, it was 82.
Right.
And when I ran out of the salmon eggs, it was like someone switching the lights off.
Mm.
I was also rolling the finished baits in the liquidized salmon eggs, and it gave them a sort of an orangey pink glug. Whether that was out to do with it, I don't know. But it certainly worked.
Yeah. Well, there's the pigment of them is astaxanthin, which is
Right. Yeah.
A carotenoid, which is very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So maybe that was it.
I've heard of it, obviously, you know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, that's in Carafil, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you've got that's canthaxanthin, which is similar.
Right.
To astaxanthin. Yeah. They're both carotenoids.
Yeah. Well, that's another story. That, by the way, Sam, I had a fishing tackle shop from about 1991 to 95. And I had a friend called Nick Jones, and he worked at a dairy. And they used to use the orange, the yellow, and the red as a natural colorant for the milkshakes. The Carafil. I don't know if you know that. Well, why they would do it in a milkshake, I don't know, because I wouldn't imagine the taste would be great. But
yeah, I don't know.
It was from the Roche Foundation in Switzerland.
Right.
It was in silver foil bags. He used to knock them off from the dairy and bring me bags, kilos and kilos of the orange, red, and yellow. So I thought, I knew from speaking to Rod Hutchinson, me and Rod were friends for many years. I met him in the Orson Barge down at Savvy when I was on a day ticket in 1982. And we became great friends from there on in. And I was talking about it with him at the time. And not related to the fact that I got it later on off my mate who works in the dairy. But he was saying that Carafil was, in his opinion, one of the greatest carp attractors ever. Anyway, I always remembered that. So when I got a chance to get this, I used it and I made some baits up with it. And I used the orange. And I thought, I'm going to go heavy on it. So I put absolutely as much as I could get in to a 10 kilo mix. And it was probably half a kilo of it. So it was immensely strong.
Jeez.
The baits came out bronze. They looked the weirdest colour ever, like a fancy woman's lipstick that was a bronze colour.
So sorry, Frank. Half a kilo to 10 kilo of base mix.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Fucking. That's mega high.
That's proper loading it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was crazy, and I struggled to roll it. Obviously, it wasn't going to be easy, and it was an easy rolling bait at the time that I had. Anyway, I crammed it in there, and it was the most amazing weird colour. It was almost like a bronze sort of cake decoration, and there was a guy called Matt who came in the shop, and I was waiting for my day off to test this bait, and I used to boil it in the shop. It was like a lads' club, my fishing tackle shop. You can imagine, can't you? We're playing darts and making hook baits, and there'd be about 15 of us in there doing all. It wasn't like a normal shop. It was anything but. Yeah. And it was the hub of a lot of different things that were going on at the time in the area. Anyway, I just made a mix, and all the windows were steamed up because I was boiling it in a Burkle in the shop. And that's how it was. And got it all laid out on the floor on a like an hooking mat. He came in and he says, "That looks the bollocks." He says, "Can I try some?" I says, "Mate," I said, "They've done this for me." He says, "You've got a shitload there." So I gave him a couple of kilo. And he had one of the biggest hits I've ever seen on Cape Thorn Hall, which was never easy. And he had the Moby, which was one of the big fish, the originals in there. I think it was 36. May have been a late record at the time.
Right.
Some other 20s. I think he had 5 or 6 fish, and he goes, "I can't believe it." He says, "It's ridiculous." He says, "They're going crazy on this." And when I tried it on the lower syndicate at Cape Thorn, I had the same thing. It was immensely attractive to the fish, much more than I'd ever imagined. So, but getting the proper nice carafill since has been a big problem.
Yeah, it's not cheap either.
Oh no, but you know you can get it. There's a few companies in Europe that do it.
Yeah,
that were suppliers of ingredients anyhow. I mean, one of them is a company that supplies powdered flavors and palatants. They've got them in Italy and all over the place, these companies. I won't mention the name at the moment. It's probably, it's a very interesting company where I get quite a lot of bits from.
right.
But you probably would be familiar with them. But and they're not too bad the price, so that's worth looking out for. And certainly I use it in the hook baits as well, where relevant, especially when I'm doing food bait hook baits.
Yeah.
So it's just something for people that are very interested in bait to bear in mind. I mean, I listened to a podcast the other day, by the way. I think it was the lad that used to work for Nash. Was it Dean? He was talking.
One of my podcasts.
Yeah.
Jason Ryder.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
And he was talking about cats. What the preference of a cat is very similar to a carp, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah, Ken Townley used to
cats,
write about that as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's very true. That my wife used to breed seal point Burmans, and I started doing this chicken meal bait. I had a friend that worked for Spillers, the pet food company.
Yeah, nice.
I knew him from the pub, and I said, "What is it in chum mixers that send the dogs crazy?" I says, "Because they're quite bland if you look at a basic chum mixer, but they've got that certain smell." He says, "Oh, that's chicken meal tallow. The oil that they extract from the process of flame drying the chicken meal." He says, "I can get you some if you want." I says, never mind that. I says, "That's one thing." But he says, they overspray it on the chum mixers. That's what sends the dogs crazy. I said, "Oh, right." So he said, "I can get you some of the chicken meal if you want." And it was from a place called Chettle's, Prosper de Morda, near Nottingham. And I thought, yeah, okay, we'll get some. So we got it. And it wasn't that expensive, but it was very high protein content, quite high in fats as well. When I first got it, I went too heavy with it. I used it at about 30% of the base mix,
Frankie.
Which was ridiculous, really, because you wouldn't use that much fish meal, but I did. And then I dropped it down. And then it still wasn't working good, so I split it with LT94, 50-50, and bang, it started working just ridiculous. And it became a legendary bait when I had the shop. I was selling the base mixes then. And I got the balance just perfect. And I could get a pile of fish meals that were perfectly good, that were catching well on. And I could put one chicken meal in the middle of the pile that was the same colour. And the cats had come in and they'd dig the way through and then take the one chicken meal out of all the fish meals to eat.
Interesting.
It was interesting.
Is this particular meal available on the market now, or is it long gone?
I was speaking to a friend of mine, Mick Ball, who's got MB Baits down in Kent, Ramsgate. Real good mate of mine. We've been mates for 30 odd years. And he said you struggle to get it now. Because I've not been doing base mixes for a while. What happened was we've all got bills to pay and all the rest of it. I had a bait company for a while. That's a long story. I ended up having to bail out from that because my original partner sold out to some people that weren't compatible with me.
Right.
So that was, I think it was about 2011 I packed that in. So consequently, and since then I've basically worked for various bait companies. Not always with great satisfaction, I must add. It was, but as I say, you've got bills to pay, so you try and take the easier option sometimes because I was doing other things. Wanted to spend more time fishing. I found that when I had a bait company, I never did any fishing hardly. You become a slave to the factory.
Yeah.
Because you want perfection, and you things don't seem to go right if you're not there. If you rely on other people that work for you, it's just never the same. I was picking all the misshapes out and everything. I just wanted everything absolutely perfect. So it's people haven't got the same energy and love for it if they're just there for a wage.
I agree. No one's going to give a fuck as much as you at the end of the day, are you? And it's your name on the bag as well.
Yeah, so basically I thought, it's going to be great. This will be out catching fish and showcasing what the baits can do. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I was just in there all the time thinking, what have I done? Part of me was proud of what the products we were doing, and the other part of me was resentful, thinking, I've probably fucked up here. I'm just not. It's like when you first have children, you're thinking, my life's never going to be the same again. I won't be able to go fishing. And it's never quite as bad as that, but it does feel a bit awkward at the time. You're thinking, oh shit, because you're not used to the change.
Yeah.
So when I found myself stuck in there, and don't get me wrong, it's nice to have things going good and the money's okay, but money to me is never been my driver. It's been about my lifestyle, and I never thought I'd live to be any kind of age because I've always been a live for the day sort of person. I also wouldn't have done motorbike racing and all the other things I've done. I like sticking my neck out a bit, I suppose. And so I never thought, let's plan for the future when I'm an old codger, picking up a pension and all that. I thought that's never going to happen. So I wanted my best years to be spent doing what I wanted to do, not stuck in a factory, smelling the bait when I got home, absolutely shagged out and thinking, when am I going to be able to go fishing again? I just couldn't handle that, So basically, long story short, I've, got out of the routine of getting ingredients for food.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't roll your own bait anymore.
I've just got all the rolling gear again. I'm doing hook baits and stuff. I've always done hook baits.
Yeah.
Even when I worked for other bait companies and that, I was always making my own hook baits. If nothing else, at least you feel like you're keeping your sanity by doing something that you've got your hands on. And some of the things I did with other people, I actually showed them some stuff that I felt was there that had I had the bait company, I'm still doing stuff that it was stuff that I really would have wanted in my range. So I put it in theirs.
Good man.
People still talk about it, and compliment me on the fact that they've had so many fish. I mean, tell you what's interesting. There's a chap who's got the Forgotten Flavors company.
Yeah.
In Belgium, and he came to me. He's a lovely bloke as well, actually, and he was buying up all the old Hutchie flavors and Nash ones. You've probably seen it, and he came to me at one of the shows when I was at the not the Zwolle show, the new one, Den Bosch. Dieter, his name is Dieter, and he says, "Do you know you started all this?" I said, "How do you mean?" He says, "Well, when you were with Dynamite in the early 2000s," he said, "I was only a young lad." He said, "I was about 12, and I was doing a talk at the Disutter show. I was there with Dynamite as well." And he said, "I came up and I didn't have enough money to buy one of the pots of your new pop-ups. And I asked you, would you do as a deal?" And I said, "No, I can't do that, mate." I says, "But what I can do is give you one of each for nothing."
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him, like you do with kids, I gave him one of each of the pots, and it made his day. And he said he never forgot that. And he had his first 20, 30 and 40 on those hook baits.
Oh, amazing.
And he said it always stayed in his mind, and that's why he wanted to do a specialist hook bait company. And he does a Reedsmere special as like a homage to...
Like a little hat tip.
Yeah. And I thought that was lovely, that. And but he's made a massive success of it. If I was to tell you how many pots he sells a day on average, you'd faint.
Yeah, he does. So he buys like old Hutchie flavors and all that lot and does them, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he was doing that, and I says, "These are what you're going to do when all this is gone, and all you've got left is stuff that's denatured, that's knackered, that's been in plastic pots that are screwed."
That's the trouble.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious. I've got some old stuff, and you get it, and it's just, a lot of it's volatile, and it's going to erode away.
Of course, yeah.
Even though you think you've got a seal in a plastic bottle, it's not as tight as you think it's going to do. It's not like glass with a proper,
Even then, it's got oxygen to it.
Exactly.
It's going to change quite.
But yeah, you've only got to look at something that's anything in your cupboards. It denatures vinegars, even. Stuff like that. That's not easily damaged. After 5 years, it's screwed.
Yeah, there's not much. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that wouldn't change its makeup in one way or the other.
No.
Something like flavors, they're complex things. There's many, many different compounds within there, and they do interact with each other.
Yeah, of course.
Because obviously I'm into making flavors now. That's a minefield, thinking how they're going to react with one another, and then trying to work out the shelf life of that it fucking hurts your brain.
It does. Hey, Sam, can I just put it on a hold for a second?
Of course you can, mate.
I need a quick slash. Sorry about that, mate.
No worries at all, mate. If you need to go, just say the word.
Well, I'm a bit of a tea-aholic, so I'm forever drinking cups of tea. And just to keep the theme up, you always ask what someone's drinking, don't you? I know you probably like to get them half pissed, so you get all the intel out of them and stuff.
I was going to ask, actually. Yeah, are you having a drink?
Yeah, I've got White and Mackay's whiskey.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love whiskey. Everybody who knows me knows I love whiskey.
Yeah.
And my lad does as well, Guy. What we do is if it's allowed, when we first arrive at Water, we always have a whiskey to crack the session going.
Nice.
It's a lovely tradition that we have, and it's nothing serious. Not sat there drinking bottles of it, getting wrecked or anything. It's just a lovely thing, father and son. We just have a toast to the beauty of the lake and the fish. And it tends to work. It's great.
Yeah. This is the sort of, we've been messaging a little bit recently. This is the one you go fishing with, obviously, your son.
Yeah, I go with them both, Jamie and Guy. But Guy's Jamie works at like a car and van rental place, and so he's busy with work at the moment. But Guy, he was working at a place called BSS, handling 18 tons of steel a day, and he got his finger crushed, and quite a dangerous job. And the pay wasn't ecstatic. He used to be a professional footballer, but his career got ended by a pretty savage injury that he got, a ruptured hamstring.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, and he played for Bolton Wanderers for a while.
Yeah.
From the age of 7, he was with the academy. And anyway, long story short, don't bore with all that, but he was pissed off within this work, normal sort of mundane 5 days a week, no prospects. He'd saved up about 20 grand, so I just said, bin it off. His mother thought I was a maniac. She says, "Oh, what an arsehole you are. You've got no responsibility, I says, "Well, listen, he's not married. He's seen a few women at the time. He wasn't in a steady relationship." I says, "He's not got children to keep." I says, he never took a year out and went around the world and did all stuff that people normally do that have been to, uni or something. I says, "So bollocks to it." He says he loves fishing. He's going to have a year's fishing. And she went, "Oh, you're a psychopath. You've always been the same, you." And she was giving me some shit. And it is a bit reckless, but I said, "Oh, bollocks to it. You only live once." So he's had a great time. We've been fishing, doing all sorts, He's had a little taste of what my lifestyle's been. I kind of semi-retired from the age of about 30. I never wanted, a normal life. And don't get me wrong, it's, I've earned some good money, but I've had some shit times as well, where I've been skint. But I wouldn't change a thing. So it's been good. Anyway, I wanted him to have a taste of that. And then I said, "Listen, I think the time's right to do the specialist hookbait company." And he was all for it. And obviously he's far better looking than I ever was. He looks good. And he's got like that Joey Essex kind of look.
Right.
So basically, he said, "I want to start doing, bit of filming, videography." He said, "I think it'd be quite interesting, you showing me the A to Z of carp fishing, where I'm like learning it all." Because I never pushed him into carp fishing when he was doing the football. He still did it, but I thought, he'd not forcing you to go. I want you to go because you want to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, I realised he was a passionate angler. He's been going quite a few years now, and he's grown and grown and grown. So he's completely obsessed with it, like they do. And the idea of actually doing the hookbait company really appealed to him. So I've been teaching him and showing him how to make them, and and he's been enjoying a lot of success using his own baits that he's made as well. So it's great. That's what I want.
That's amazing. So you're in business. So obviously you've, for those people, I imagine everyone does know, but if anyone doesn't know, you've just restarted because you used to have Warwick baits years ago, didn't you? You've restarted.
Yeah.
And in business with your son, is that right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And I intend to bring in, I've got a daughter as well that likes fishing, Jade, and she's my eldest. The only thing with Jade is she don't like having a photograph taken, which isn't great for publicity.
Nice.
Yeah, she looks beautiful. She's got a mum's look. She's staggeringly beautiful, So it's a shame. Or else she could get more likes and probably earn more money than the lot of us put together.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah. Well, if whilst we're on that, actually, have you got a website or social media if people want to have a look at your hook baits?
We've just got a Facebook, Warwick Baits, it's called. We've only just started it, and we're building a website at the moment.
Right.
And I'm bloody useless at all that, so he's doing that with his girlfriend Chloe, his partner. She's very computer savvy and all that, so she's helping us to do that. And so that's currently in the process of it. All we've been doing is just dropping it onto Instagram and Facebook that we've got some stock in, and it's gone mad.
Yeah.
They just buy it on PayPal. We give people the details and then just send it to them, So it's been a bit of a ball breaker sending it to Holland and France and Germany and everything.
It is difficult, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, mate, we've had loads go missing.
And
it's genuinely gone missing, or else it's been sent back to us. If you put fishing bait on the I know the sheets that you have to fill in to send them away.
Yeah,
you've just got to put laws.
Yeah.
and hope it gets through. But if you put fishing bait, that's it. It's finished.
Yeah, this is exactly what I do.
Yeah.
I don't sell any actual feed. I'd only sell flavors. It's mostly flavors from overseas that people want. It might from me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do exact same fishing lure, which technically it is. It's
It is,
pretty
yeah.
much
Yeah,
fish.
they're not eating it. So,
No.
I thought that's legit.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
but
it's a nightmare.
we're having second thoughts on whether it's just worth it, because we've had to reimburse so many people.
Yeah.
And
Who are
the
you
good people
posting
as
with?
well.
Royal Mail?
Yeah.
It's not easy to get the money back either, is it?
No, you might as well forget it.
Yeah. Pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's probably best just to take a chance and drive it over there and have a friendly
Yeah.
person on the books to send it out for you.
Yeah.
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 That's
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, God, the ingredients coming this way as well is obviously a massive issue, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not great.
No,
I mean,
no.
all these things that was talking about, the carousel and everything, they're European companies that you get it from, and to them it's not worth even dealing with the UK. I mean, here's us thinking that anyone that was to vote for Brexit would stop all the boat people coming, and it's even worse.
Oh,
and
God,
then now
worse.
we've cut our own balls off. We can't do any trade with our European partners. So
it really is bad, mate. It really is bad. But I must say, I mean, wow, you obviously tell me if you think I'm wrong. You've been around far longer than me, mate. But the other side of it is, in this day and age, there's more abundance and there's more ingredients and there's more things at our disposal than there was 20 odd years ago and more, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's and the information as well is obviously just we're in such an information rich age. It's hard to grumble, really, isn't it? But
it is, yeah.
Could have done without Brexit. Definitely. There's so many good European products as well. Yeah, it's
well,
tricky.
I've got a friend, Henry Canson, and he works for Pelagia as one of his contractors that he works for.
Nice.
And they used to own Sea Garden that made the
L030.
Yes, and he's got the very still that used to make it all.
Has he?
He's got the still that made every single litre of that stuff, its entire history. They owed him 64 hours overtime, so they let him have it.
Fucking hell.
Oh, mate, you want to see the ingredients he can get, because he's part of their family. He used to own a company called Northern Baits.
Oh, yeah. And is this Sterler?
Sterler and Henrik. Sterler. You know what Sterler does?
Yeah. He's I own I run the bait club, which is basically a private members club for bait. He's in that. He's doing some fascinating things, isn't he?
Well, he works with Captain. Is it Captain? Oh, on the that famous TV series, is that Stig, Captain Stig?
Don't know that.
Do you know where they do the fishing for the crabs?
No.
Well, it's a series. It's on Sky TV, and they go out and they're in all sort of weathers in the Barents Sea and everything, and they're catching lobsters and crabs, then big king crabs and stuff, and off Newfoundland, all over the place. He is Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted an alternative to fish to put in the crab and lobster pots.
Yeah.
So Sterler's in business with him. He's made stuff that attracts the crabs and the lobsters to the pots that's better than actual fish.
Yeah, I know he's doing some very interesting things.
He's got a good mind, he has.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Clever.
Yeah. Well, he was working with Henrik, and Henrik won't mind me saying he had some wacky recipes. When I went working over there, I was wanting some extra money, so I went learning how to do TIG welding. I was getting, even unqualified, just learning the job, I was getting £35 an hour. So I was doing 14 to 16 hour days, 7 days a week, making a load of money. And I was working on pelagia, and the stuff they've got there is ridiculous. I asked when I worked in the place where they were doing it was a big pellet making concern, and they make salmon and halibut pellets for the big sea pens that they've got there.
Yeah.
So I got pally with one of the guys while I was working there, and I says, "Can I have some of the pellets?" Because Henrik's got a lake that he stocked years ago, and it did the Norwegian record. It was it's just been ottered actually, which is terrible. It was about £44, which is amazing for Norway.
Yeah,
considering the length of the winters they have there.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, he was feeding them all this bait he was making. I asked this guy in the big pellet place. I says, "Can I have some pellets?" He says, "Oh, I'm not going to split a bag." So he says, "So you can have a tote bag." I says, "It's more than it's a ton. It's more than a metric ton." He says, "I'm not fucking about splitting the bag. Just take the lot." He says, "We do. What was it they do? 70 tons an hour they make. I think it was. Or that might have been 700 tons an hour. It was some crazy figure.
Right.
And you want to see the size of this place. So he gave us, Henrik's van was nearly doing a wheelie. He got a forklift truck and put a full tote bag in the back of the, without batting an eyelid. And Henrik said, "Oh, he's always doing this." I thought, Jesus Christ, it's a few quid's worth of that.
Yeah.
And they don't give a toss. But the volumes and the stuff they're using, I mean, Henrik could go into Sea Garden and he was getting red crab liquid and extracts. Some of this stuff was just fantastic.
Yeah.
He was using, he swore by it, aloe vera.
Really?
Liquid aloe vera in his bait. That was the first for me.
I wonder what is in the aloe vera that would be worthy including. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I was a little bit, that was a new one on me. I'd never thought of using cactus extract.
Right.
But it's got a lot of good things going for it. So, it's supposed to be good for your gut.
Yeah, a lot of people swear by it for various things, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my mum's got aloe vera plants.
It's got a cleansing element, supposed to refresh your system. So,
what's the most? I mean, you might not want to say, and obviously, absolutely fine.
Okay.
If you don't, but what is the most outlandish, crazy thing that you've used and it's actually worked really well?
Oh, there's loads. I was spent a lot of time in Serbia with a friend of mine, Vlada Janovic. I didn't realise he was the boss of the Serbian Black Tigers and Interpol's most wanted man.
Yeah, now.
But he had a couple of tackle shops in Belgrade, and he sent me a random email and wanted me to go fishing with him. And he said he'd pay me and pay the flights, and he wanted me to visit his tackle shops. And I could fish Pelichevo, General Tito's old lake in Bosnia. And I said, "I'll sod it, I'll go." Yeah, I met Vlad, and then every morning I noticed he was drinking this like sludge, and it just looked like, I don't know if you've ever done pottery, the slip that you use when you're making pots. It looked like mud, and he was
clay.
Yeah, it's like clay. And I
Right.
says, "What the hell's that you've got there?" He said, "This is why the Americans really wanted." I'm sure it wasn't, but he said it was why the Americans wanted a foothold in Serbia. He says first thing they did was got hold of the mines that mined this stuff, because they wanted. It's one of the few places in the world where you can get it. And I says, "Well, what is it?" And it's a kind of clay that's full of minerals and vitamins. Have you heard of that shilajit?
Yeah.
It's a bit like that.
So many people message me about that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's trying to think of the name of it. What he said it was. Bloody hell! Trying to think of the name. It slips me at the minute. It's the trouble with getting on a bit. You think you can remember everything, and sometimes you can't. Selenium.
Selenium.
Yes.
Right.
That's a mineral. Well, it's a mineral-rich type of clay. And he says, do you realise that us Serbs have it every day, this, and none of us get ill?
Right, okay.
It's supposed to boost your immune system, and
it would. So it was rich in selenium.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. What was the actual thing called? Is a type of clay? Did you say?
Yeah, it was. He just said it was selenium that was in it.
Selenium is it's a nutrient.
Right. Well, based on that, I did some research and found out that in cattle feeds they put clay and minerals in some of the feeds,
right,
and it helps the gut digest stuff and makes it more efficient.
Yeah,
and it's a quick way of getting the minerals and vitamins into the system, into the bloodstream. So I was using that, and it was quite interesting. Found it. I mean, a lot of people that make bait, they very rarely mess with minerals or vitamins.
No.
I'd probably say doing a disservice there. There may be more people than I think, but I think it's one side that's a little bit neglected from what I've seen.
I mean, I don't know if they bother anymore, but a lot of home rollers used to put in aquavite or selenovite.
Yeah.
Which is horse minerals and vitamins. But not sure whether they do. I don't know whether many people do that. In fact, I don't even know if you can get one of them. I can't remember which. It stopped being produced. But there's loads.
I'm not seeing Equivite was rich in cod liver oil, I think, wasn't it?
Equivite is a powdered mix. It's sold for horses.
It got quite a lot of garlic in it.
No.
All right.
No, don't think so. Yeah. Unless there might, mate. I used to use it probably 20 years ago. I don't really use it since. I don't think there's garlic in it.
I've not used that for a long time.
No, it's literally just a off-white powder full of.
It was chalk, almost like chalk, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, full of vitamins and minerals. I don't think there's garlic in it. No, but garlic's a common additive for horses. So
it is. I've had there was one called Klopp that I used to use, not named after Jurgen. It was that had garlic in it,
right?
And I mean garlic. Christ, I use garlic in most of the baits. I've done most of the food baits.
Yeah,
I used to use turmeric, garam masala.
Yeah.
In fact, I did some baits for Stuart Gillam for Thailand, and he said the fish went crazy on him. He said, "Why have you got all these Indian spices?" And this is because all fish love them. So he had all the, the Siamese carp and everything going. All the different species that he's got in there. It's like a bloody zoo. He said, "Christ almighty, they're putting the weight on." So all he does is just change the flavours now and again, but the base mix is the same. He gave me a list of what he could get in Thailand, so I put it together for him, and it worked.
Do you typically like using spices in powdered form or oils or oleoresins?
No, I prefer the powdered form.
Powders, yeah. Yeah, they vary so much, don't they?
They do, yeah. I mean, it's to get the levels right with liquids is quite awkward sometimes with some of those very spicy things.
Yeah.
It's the same as asafoetida.
Asafoetida, that's a good one.
If you use the essential oil, it's easy for it to become a repellent, I found.
It's so strong, but to be fair, getting a pure one is nigh on fucking impossible this day and age.
Yeah, well, I use the powder instead.
Yeah.
And the powder you can control. And it's an incredible fish attractor if you get the dosage right with the powders.
Yeah.
You can control that.
So much cheaper as well. I don't know if you've tried to buy pure asafoetida essential.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. It's eye-wateringly expensive. I use it. And it is savagely expensive. But yeah, as you say, the powder, very good. It's a bit more consistent in strength as well.
It is. It is, yeah.
And not many people using it.
No, I would think hardly any. It's the same as Mexican onion oil. You'd have to be a brave man to be using that.
Again, varies so much that I use it in essential oil form, and
I only
varies a
use
lot.
it if someone's pissing me off and they get it through the letterbox.
Yeah,
That's end of house, by the way.
yeah.
That's end of house. That's it. It's finished.
Yeah, it lingers, doesn't it?
25 years it lingers, yeah. Because I'll not tell you I know that, but I do know that. 25 years straight up.
Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway, talking about essential oils, I used to try ones that were really under the radar, and one that I found that was exceptional was sassafras.
Sassafras.
Yeah.
See, I've done a lot with essential oils. I reckon more than most people, and but I've never heard of that one. That's new to me.
Well, do you know the smell of dandelion and burdock?
Yeah, I love it.
It's that.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's very unique.
Should be saying this off air, mate. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I don't mind giving some stuff away.
No.
That's a great one to try if you can source it. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'll tell you something else that was there was a durian extract.
Right.
There's an interesting thing for you. Oh my God. You know, people get addicted. They get addicted to durian. You get the Asians, you know, from Malaysia and all, and Chinese, they're obsessed with it. It stinks like a rotting sort of decaying dead body smell. But when they taste the fruit and everything, they're completely obsessed with it.
Have you looked into the compounds that make it up or not?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can get powdered extracts that are very interesting. And I mean, there's so many things I've tried. There was a thing called Immortel. This is part of that same family, and it flowers once every 50 years.
Wow.
And it grows in Africa, and it's always next to rivers. And when it sheds its seeds every 50 years, you can imagine it has to make sure that it's eaten and shat out, basically.
Yeah.
So it can be moved and passed around and mixed. So it's attractive to insects, fish, you name it, birds, animals. Everything wants to eat it when it sheds its spores, its seed pods. And
that's mind-blowing.
Yeah. So I wanted the essential oil or the extract of it.
Yeah.
And I got that from reading up on these things. And I was speaking to, he was a friend of ours called the professor from Birmingham University. He only managed to get some of this stuff. I just couldn't get it anywhere, and he got it. And when I got it, it was like, you know, it's like super glue that's gone hard in the tub.
Right.
It was almost like wax that had set.
Right.
It had a weird smell to it. And the only way I could work out how to use it was to heat it up. And a guy that was fishing with at the time, he was fishing on David Marl's place, Linford. And he liked surface fishing, so heated it up and put it on chum mixers, and he went on and smashed the place. Absolutely smashed it on the surface with the mixers with this on, and he said they were fighting over it and going crazy. I mean, really crazy. And you know, there must be something in nature that triggers these things. That
I mean, that is mind-blowing, isn't it? The fact
Yeah.
it only flowers once in 50 years, so it has to be attractive to all these different animals.
Yes.
To ensure its survival. Things like that absolutely blow my mind, mate.
Yeah. I mean, have you heard of the miracle berry?
I don't think so. What is it?
Oh, right. Well, I by accident found out about this miracle berry. It's from Africa again, and there was people having miracle berry parties. Rich people in America, not that you have to be rich to get it. It was just that they're always looking for the next thing. And it's a berry that grows and it blocks your taste buds.
Oh, okay. This goes by a different name, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what it is, it's from a berry, and you can basically drink a cup of your own pee or vinegar or lemon juice or stuff that tastes disgusting, and it tastes like the best drink you've ever tasted in your life. So it blocks your taste buds but imparts an incredible, sweet, magnificent, fruity taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it's I do know about this. It sort of inverts your taste buds, doesn't it? Like
it does, yeah. So I've been
sweet.
messing with that in the hook baits.
Yeah, interesting.
And when you think about it, if they are tasting your hook bait before it's even in the mouth, which I'm fairly sure they do,
yeah,
because of the molecules going through the water, through the olfactory system, such like. I just wanted it to be something that they pick up on and it goes, whoa, what's this? And how that would interpret into a carp, I don't know.
You mean even if it's just piquing their interest and they're like, what the fuck is that? I want to sample it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's evolved in nature. And just the fact that it's probably not evolved for humans, it would have been to get, I mean, what's its purpose? How has it developed to, obviously it's to make you come back to eat more of it. So it gets eaten and then shat out somewhere else.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the competition where that grows all taste noxious. So it wants to block that off and give you the most amazing taste of itself. So you go back eating more of that. So I thought, if that's the case, why shouldn't it work on fish? And guess what it does? Amazing. It works. Going back to where I was talking about earlier, where testing these things, where I've been down loads of blind alleys and I thought, Christ, that's cost me fish, I've not caught anything for a while. For every one of those, if you get a massive success that's sort of, there's mind-bending, the captures that you can do, what's not to like about that?
Yeah.
I'd rather, be right on the edge testing it than, it's exciting as well, but I suppose you have to have something to work with in the first place. That's why I'm not afraid to try some very unusual things.
Yeah, I mean, you're very much on the extreme of that. Like, you obviously have this real thirst for experimenting and testing.
Yeah,
you got people on the opposite end. They just want to buy a bait they have confidence in. They don't want to think about it. That's a lot of anglers as well, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
but as you say, you're not opening yourself up to these wonderful discoveries, are you?
No, not at all. I mean, when I think back, I used to correspond with a guy, I think his name was Kai. He was a South African, and he was very interested in my single hook bait thinking. And he ended up being one of the partners in the Kiana Goo.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's Kia and Ian. Ian is the English guy that owns part of the company, and I think the other guy is the South African.
Right.
And he was telling me that he was dipping his single hook baits in all kinds of things. And some of the stuff that he was dipping them in that actually worked was staggering. Even I took a step back thinking, shit, mate, you shouldn't be doing that. Like terps.
You what, sorry?
Turpentine.
Oh, yeah. Right.
What's it called? The methylated spirits.
Right.
Works. Not that I'm advocating doing that.
No.
But it does attract fish. We all know about some of the other things that attract them, what's it called? The stuff that you gargle with. It smells disgusting. TCP.
PCP. Yeah.
TCP works.
Yeah, I remember using that many years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it on a podcast actually, and maybe a Nash one or something, and then people took it. They weren't just using it on zigs; they were using it on their food and everything.
Yeah, particles and shit.
People walking past them, and all they could smell was TCP blowing the head off.
Yeah.
And I thought, shit. So you got to be careful what you say about these things, because in the wrong hands, people think more is better and scary. It's the same when I mentioned with the clove oil. You've got to be super careful with that stuff.
Very good. One of the better essential oils for sure.
Absolutely, but again, they use it in fish husbandry to knock the fish out.
Yeah, anesthetize them. Yeah,
anesthetize them. Yeah. So you don't want to be putting that in your food bait. That's for sure.
No.
But in singles, woof, that works. And I suppose there's so many different things I've used in singles as well. They did some research, by the way, they got a control pellet in America, I forget which university it was, and they put salt in the stapled pellets that the carp had been fed on, and they put monitors on them which showed a response that was attached to the brain. And when they put sodium chloride on their salt, there was an increased activity, and they wanted to feed on it. But when they put calcium chloride in there, it was much, much higher, the response. Much higher. All the receptors were going, and the brain impulses were far greater, and the feeding response was far greater. And some of that research, is very interesting to me. I mean, I was recently watched John Baker's one of them small films he does on YouTube, and he was answering questions, and he says, these idiots that say that a change in pH attracts carp, he says, are talking absolute rubbish. And I was a bit staggered by that, because John knows me well, and he always knew that I was a champion. That one of the things I always did with the flavours when I first started writing about single upbaits was messing around with the pHs. And unless I was mistaken, some of the captures I had was definitely due to it being either extremely acidic or extremely alkaline. And
I think that's going to act as an investigatory trigger, which is going to pull them down. And then obviously you've got other things coming off your bait, which is going to make them want to take it in, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I think John was virtually implying that they can't detect a change in pH. I think that's crazy. I'm sure they can. So I had to make a comment on that. I made a comment underneath, says, well, where's your evidence that they can't? It's like I always said that because of my findings, that I knew carp had full colour vision. And the general consensus in the early 80s was they only saw in shades of grey and black and white.
Yeah, it's quite the opposite, isn't it?
Yes, and I kind of knew that they had nocturnal vision, because when I started using the white dye, the titanium oxide, I got Duncan Kay to get me that, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah, he got it from Germany for me. And he got me I forget the name of it now, it's banned now, the pink one that's green crystals.
Yeah, you can't use titanium dioxide now either.
No, that's being banned as well. Yeah. But he got me the fluorescent pink as well, but it was green crystals when it arrived. And it even stained my teeth for a week. The enamel on my teeth was stained pink, and I couldn't get it off.
Why was it on your teeth?
I wiped my mouth with the gloves on.
Jeez.
And it touched my teeth and dyed my teeth pink.
Yeah.
It would even dye stainless steel tables, rolling tables.
Wow.
It's been banned a while. Forget the name of it now, sadly. like some rhodamine or something like that. But it was the type of. He got me that from Germany, the white, and he says, "Why do you want these?" I said, "No one's ever done a white before, a brilliant white and a brilliant pink." So he got them, and then I got the white and went on his Mid-Northants carp syndicate where Maddox used to fish, and Chris Tarrant, and I met Lane Gerd on there, and Dave Thorpe, and John O'Driscoll, and John Baker, all of them. I met them all on there, and I had 9 in a day on the white paints. And Duncan went mad. He went, "Oh my God," he said, "that's an amazing hit on there. First time out on there, you had 9." I said, "Yeah." And he says, "All right, I'll let you have the white dye for a year, then I want to do it." And when I met Rod in the Awesome Barge on Savvy, I told him about the white dye, and that's when he did Dayglow white. He I got on with him, so I said, "Listen, that's a bit special," that, and he ended up doing Dayglow white. So that's where it came from.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Things like that are fascinating.
Yeah. And
How much?
guess what Duncan got, by the way, from the same company? He got silver dye.
Silver. Crikey.
Right. And mate, they look like fucking ball bearings. He made the baits. Do you know when you say them hundreds and thousands on cakes where they're silver and gold? It's what they use for that. They look like proper ball bearings. I mean, mate, but who am I to say?
Yeah.
But he did them and was going to bring them out in his. Duncan was a mad bastard. We used to have. That's where I started drinking whiskey. Really, we used to have a bottle of what's the Irish whiskey called? The Jameson's for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd drive to work, and then we'd start. And he had 4,000 to 1 red carpy flavour.
Yeah.
And he just got the plastic bottle and was holding it over the mixing bowl without measuring it and just letting it gush in.
No.
I went, don't you measure any of this? He went, "Do a bollocks."
Jeez.
And I thought, "Oh mate, what are you doing?" And I was meticulous. He had all these fantastic ingredients. He'd got wheat germ and New Zealand lactalbumin and all the best casings, and he sold them as separate ingredients for the carp connoisseur that wanted to make their own baits. He had, soya isolates and you name it, all sorts. But in his own bait, it was fairly rudimentary, a bit like the old Richmouths, 50-50 style stuff.
Yeah.
Then he's putting the red carpy flavour in, lugging it in, and then guess how he used to preserve the baits? He'd take it out and then lower it. He didn't use eggs in the bait, just water. He'd lower a basket of the ready-mades into a full vat of propylene glycol and leave it for half an hour to soak right in.
Oh.
And then bring it out. So it was like a toxic nightmare.
Fucking hell.
So I says, "Can I make my baits up with all the ingredients?" He said, "Fill your boots." So I was doing all the super duper HNVs. And he let me take a load of the mix on with, a few hundred kilos. So Jesus Christ, was smashing the shit out of Reedsmere on it and that, And I had the white dyes, all the gear. It's incredible.
How much faith do you put in obviously you're very well known for for your high coloured hook baits. How much do you think it's that versus flavour? Do you think they're both important in different ways?
Right.
How would you rate them?
Right. I was in a luxurious position in the early 80s in that there was only me on the single hook baits.
Yeah.
The main question that the lads were asking on the Mere was, "How are you getting the free offerings in?" I said, "I'm not going to tell you." So I fueled the fire. I made out that I was getting bait in and not telling them I was doing it. One enterprising guy said, "I know what you're doing. You got those fucking giant polystyrene feet that you're putting them on at night and walking across the lake and then baiting up." I said,
"No way.
You're getting warm. I thought, "Oh, fuck off." I was just banging singles out to an area that had never been fished before.
Yeah.
So they're in a sanctuary area. The fish had back off into the middle of the lake and it had never been touched. So they just sat there waiting for it, to be malleted. Anyway, the interesting thing was I had an amazing test bed. So what I was doing, it was the silt in suspension. My mate had dove out there in a diving gear and got totally disorientated. The silt in the old days was incredibly bad. It was like up to your waist, like a soup, primordial soup. And so, you know, they were silt feeders. But I was using pop-ups, and I was using them. The best height was between 6 and 9 inches off the bottom. I used to call it gob level. Because if you've got a 20 or 30 swimming with its belly touching the bottom, that would just about be right in front of its mouth and its eyes.
Mm.
And in that sort of load of crap. So what I'd do is I'd put the shot right near the hook bait, make a point of people, if they clock me, I'd make sure if I was landing a fish, I'd get the shot quickly and slide it down near the bait. So it looked like you would use now. Just before I cast out, because you had to wade out in the lake, I'd get the shot and slide it between 6 and 9 inches away from the hook bait. Then crack it out. So I was getting away with it for a long time, till they all started getting the long range gear and cottoning onto what was going on. And I actually wrote about it in my book, actually. Brian Garner, you've probably heard of him. He's ever so loud. He looks like Roy Orbison with his big sort of dark glasses on, and you could hear him in the next county when he was shouting. He used to be with Nutribaits, who was mad on putting a load of food in. Well, him and Big Dave turned up, and they'd heard about me banging these singles out. And it's worth hearing this. I landed a fish, and they see me winching it in from, about 150 yards out in the lake. So they're working out what was going on. They'd got quite soft rods. So Garner was pretty quick on the ball. He gets the brightest bait he'd got, which wasn't that bright, but it wasn't the dark food bag. And he's getting about 70 yards out with these 2.25 pound test curve rods. And it absolutely killed me. He got his kit off, got down to his budgie smugglers. And he's right out with just his head sticking out the water in the end, thrashing, catching the bait on the backswing, trying to get it out there. And in the book, I said, remember that scene from the Bond film, Goldfinger, when that Ursula Andress comes out of the water?
Yeah.
When he came back to the bank, I said, he looked like Ursula Andress in the Bond film, except she'd got a bigger cock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I often laugh to myself, wondering if he's ever read that, but I do titter when I think about it. But where I was going with it, I had the luxury of getting 4 and 5 bites a day sometimes when it was happening really big time, getting double runs. So I wanted to try and step ahead of the game, because I thought when everyone else is getting the rods and they realise that it's the bright baits and the singles and they're all doing it, I need some extra information. So I thought it might have just been the colour of the hook baits. So I started doing a placebo that was exactly the same colour as the hook bait I was using, that was quite highly flavoured, and putting that out to see if that would work. And I never got a single run on one. I can't recall a single run on a bright bait with no flavouring, which is kind of bizarre. I never expected that for a minute. And then I started messing around with huge amounts of sweetener in a single 1 egg mix.
Like sweetener, was that?
Yes, with no flavour, just to see if that ionized in the water and gave off a signal to them, which I suspected it would.
What happened? What was the result?
They wouldn't touch it. Then I had to really reduce it down before it started going. And then the obvious thing was I started using like the obligatory sort of 5 mil to 1 egg mix. And that was fairly weak as well. So I ended up using seriously substantial amounts of flavour to a 1 egg mix. Squid octopus, 35 mil, that sort of thing, to 1 egg mix.
Which is just fucking insane. 35 mil.
Yeah. And that would totally outfish something of 10 mil.
And that bound up all right? That rolled all right?
Yeah, it was slightly more difficult to roll, because you've got a hell of a lot of greasy flavour in there, and that's got a pH of 10.5.
Yeah.
So I was
rarely alkaline, isn't it?
Yes, and I was using Nutribate's liquid kelp, that's 11, a pH of 11 in conjunction with it. Super alkaline and using it at high dosages. Then some of the more acidic flavors I was using high, and then I realized that if I went the opposite end of the spectrum, went quite low with those, they were better. I found some strange things with essential oils as well. When you think that something, say the neutral pH is 7, and then you put one of an ingredient of 10 in, that's 3 away from the medium, and then you go the other way and put something in that's 4, they don't cancel each out and go to 7. One is stronger than the other and takes over.
Yeah.
So
you've got different buffering into play
exactly.
as well, haven't you? Yeah,
exactly. But they don't simply equate to, put 4 in of that one and 10 of that, and they'll go to 7. No, it's not the case. Not at all. So you do need buffering solutions, and there's some strange anomalies with it. It's like embutyric acid, embutyric. The colder the temperature, the more water soluble it is.
Yeah.
There's not many things that do that, where the colder the water, the more it leaches out of the bait. So what I quickly realized was the colder the water, the more embutyric you have to put in, because it's flushing out quickly.
Yeah.
So I had a different dosage for the summer baits to the winter baits. I realise I'm bouncing from one thing to another.
No, it's perfect, mate.
It's almost like a game of tennis with subjects just zapping around like a pinball machine.
Mate, this is how I know you listen to the podcast. This is how it is, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But it's almost like the ramblings of a madman, isn't it?
It's good, mate. It's perfect.
Yeah. No, mate, can I just get you to halt for 1 second, because I'm going to pour another one of these and have another pee.
Of course you can, mate. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Is that all right? Well, that's a big one.
How many old whiskies you on, mate?
Well, one of my whiskies is equal to about 5 in the pub.
I'm the same. I'm like that.
Yeah, Ardy Velkamp will vouch for this. I was over in the Czech Republic, and I was in charge of the junior England team, which is another story. And I got handed that like a hot potato. And anyway, I was doing a bit of sunbathing and doing some drawing, and I was just in the mood. The lads were doing okay. I'd shown them a chod rig and some other bits, and they were fishing a big weedy area, and they were in the lead, so that was going good. And they were only 13 and 14, and the other lads from the other countries were 18, and much more experienced, so it was great. Anyway, Hardy timed me. It was 48 minutes for a litre of whiskey it took me. And he says, mate, I would be in an ambulance and in hospital for 3 days if I'd just done a litre of whiskey in 48 minutes. He says, and you've just done one of your best ever drawings. I was drawing on the bank I like doing it, doing my sketches and things.
I think some people can just drink and other people just can't.
No, I know.
It's yeah.
Well, do you know that I had a stroke about 4 years ago? I blamed it on COVID, but it wasn't really. I did a 7-hour podcast the night before.
Right.
There was thousands of people tuning in, and it got hilarious.
What podcast was that, mate?
Jamie Clossick set it up. It was one of them social things on his Carpcast. And it got out of control. It was in lockdown, and it got out of control, and I drunk 2 litres of whiskey and a litre of vodka.
Oh, mate.
In 7 hours, and then had a stroke the following day. And then I thought, it's got to be COVID.
Can't be the booze.
No.
Yeah, so, I didn't know that, mate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all right. It wasn't all right at the time. It was pretty horrendous, but I've shrugged it off and I'm okay now. I'm back to normal.
Yeah, good.
As normal as I can be, let's put it that way.
Do you oh, don't mind me asking, do you limit your drinking now after that or not?
Yeah, down to about a liter every 6 hours. No, I'm only joking. No, I hardly drink anymore. I don't. I watch what I eat. I used to like the occasional smoke. I wasn't a heavy smoker. I just liked it when I was fishing or socially in the pub. Don't do it now. Ponce the occasional one if I'm in the mood, if someone's there smoking in front of me and I want one when I'm fishing, but I don't really. And I very rarely drink.
Yeah, good for you, mate.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
No, I agree with you.
I mean, tonight is different because I said it was a bit of fun, and I know it's part of your little tradition. So I thought
you don't have to, mate. Obviously,
no, I didn't mind at all. It's part. To me, it's nice.
Yeah,
it's. I think people can identify with that if you do it in moderation. It's all anything.
Yeah, if you're doing it as it's a bit of an event, I think crack on. It's good, but it's when, and I've been guilty of this in the past. It's when it gets habitual and you clock off for the day and you reach for the fucking booze, and I've been guilty of that. That's not healthy drinking, mate. In my opinion,
No. Well, I don't. I'm not. I know blokes that spend must be about £50 a day in the pub, especially with the pub prices now. 10 pints in the pub just go nowhere.
Yeah.
And you think, Jesus, how did they afford all this? And then it's just what it does to you as well. I can go out now and go in the pub and have 3 pints and feel like shit the following day.
Yeah.
And obviously, 20 quid lighter as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy what people pay for this stuff, but
savagely expensive, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm glad I like carp fishing.
Yeah, it's all getting weaker as well. Like I'm drinking.
Oh, it is.
Look at the can. It's 4.6%. Now, I'm sure it used to be, was it 5.2, wasn't it, Stella?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like that, wasn't it? Definitely 5 at least. It is now.
Well, when I was drinking, I didn't have a chance to read what it was. I was too busy beating the wife.
Yeah.
Only kidding.
No, of course, mate. I tell you what. Whilst it's on my mind, we just before the toilet break, we're talking about levels of flavour.
Oh yeah.
Will be screaming at me if I don't pursue this more. You're obviously well known for super duper high levels of flavour.
Yeah.
Do you ever go in the stark opposite to that? Is there ever a scenario for you that you think, do you know what? I just want literally maybe 1 mil in there, or just whatever it is, a low level for a certain approach or a certain.
Yeah, certainly with essential oils, I'm very careful with those.
Yeah.
I think, this so fierce. If you put an essential oil on your tongue, I don't know if you've tasted most of them.
Oh, all of them. Well,
they sear. Some of them are incredible. Some of the peppermint ones and spearmint that I've used and stuff. Oh my God, they burn. It's like neat acid.
Yeah.
And therefore, the strength is phenomenal. So I just thought, and some of the results I've had when I've tried them heavier, it's just not been right. I mean, of course, we're not privy to the strength of a lot of the flavours unless you deal direct with the flavour manufacturer like I do. I know what strength I'm getting now, so I can adjust things accordingly. But
so do you ever go light on it? Maybe like a mil or two?
Yes. I do with food, but hook baits, I know there's a big trend for washed out and people will wash the hook baits out and all the rest of it, but I've found that to be not the one for me. I mean, I'll tell you something. It's interesting if you're using plastic baits. I've been with Enterprise since 1998. I was at the World Carp Classic and he handed, Chris, who owns it, I think he sent somebody there with a bag of all the very first plastic corn that was unflavoured. And at the end of the prize giving, at the end, all there was all over the floor was leaflets and pamphlets with different tackle offers and and hundreds of packets of this plastic corn that's just been dumped where people thought, fuck that, threw it away. So I was on my hands and knees picking it all up. I wanted it all. I could see straight away that it would be amazing. So I realised it would catch by itself because when I used to go to Isaac Spencer's, a fish meal manufacturer in Fleetwood in Lancashire, and I was getting the fish meals, cod meal, anchovy, capelin, lots of different ones. We're getting fresh halibut oil that was still hot when they were decanting it. We'd get salmon oil. It was just the freshest and best stuff. And I used to speak to them there, and they said, "Have you ever seen the fish emulsion?" And it looked like brill cream, and it was a byproduct of the process of the. And I said, "What do you do with this?" He says, "Oh, it goes in trainers in the rubber in the soles."
There you go.
And plastics. He says that's why sometimes some trainers smell of fish.
Yeah, light fittings do as well when they get hot, don't they?
Exactly. So I knew that there would be some attraction in the plastic updates that Chris at Enterprise was doing. I spoke to Lee Jackson and Tim Paisley about it. And anyway, I think in the midst of time, that one got mixed up a bit and they forgot where they heard it first. But that's another thing. Anyway, I started messing around with flavours with them, and the flavoured versions would totally outfish the unflavoured. I've heard people say, on the contrary, otherwise, but for me, I found the flavoured versions were in a different league. So I said to Chris, you've got to do some flavoured versions, mate. You have to. So he did the Tutti Frutti and the Embuteric and pineapple. To this day, he does them, and they're still brilliant. I still use them now. And I started messing around with different flavours in those things. And I did a match on Horseshoe Lake, one of them Pro-Am things, and I was winning the match. And if I hadn't had a bite within an hour, I'd wind in, and I was fishing a lot of the onion weed, and it overtook the flavour in the baits. And he brought it back, and it just smelt of that sort of herbally weed, like onion. You know it. And if I put a fresh one out there, whether it was the recast with the bag, probably part of it, but if I just left it and got it back unflavoured so it smelled like the onion, it wasn't going to go. So every time I put a fresh flavoured one out, it would go. So just as an experiment, I had some unflavoured. So I put the unflavoured, this is during the match, and it wouldn't go. So when I put the flavoured in the same spot, it would go. So they're obviously finding the flavoured version.
What is this full concentration of flavour? Just
yes. Yeah. It was almost. It was as strong as the really strong flavours that Chris uses. He was. Do you know the Lockheed's? He had a flavour there. I forget the name of it now. One of his more famous ones that was Esterblend.
Esterblend, yeah.
Yeah, they're very strong.
Esterblend was no, I'm thinking of Esterberry. Yeah, Esterblend 12.
Yes.
Yeah, Tutti Frutti.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Chris's are on the same strength as that. They're in the plastic, so they're quite considerably strong flavours, you know. Very
very strong.
Strong flavours. So that was working. And basically, Oz, my mate, we used to fish Cuttle Mill, and he bought into the highly flavoured thing. And he had his singles sat in a full pot of Autumn Harvest and Nouvelle Fizz. Just sat in it all year round. So they were in neat flavour, sat in it. They became wafters because they were just so, saturated with the flavour. They sunk it slowly, and he caught tons of fish on those. They literally blow your head off when you got them out of the tub. And there's so many different things that I've seen where, for those that don't buy into it, I'm okay with that because it's only what I found. Yeah. If people disagree, great, crack on. Doesn't matter a jot to me.
Well, why do you think there is such a discrepancy there? say you, I'll leave my own opinion out of it, but say yourself, you're obviously a big believer in high levels of flavor. I mean, the koi rare, squid and octopus, strong old flavor. 35 mil an egg is,
Yeah.
you ain't getting much stronger than that. And then
No.
there's people like, I mean, John Baker springs to mind because I know he's spoken out about high flavor levels,
Yeah.
quite sort of, emphatically.
Well, can I just stop you a minute?
Yeah, of course.
I think it was about 1984. I'd been hammering the mere using the singles. I just had 17 fish that winter, and there was one other bite to everybody else on the lake all winter. And I was only fishing Saturday days, and I had something going, and that was that coffee cream flavour. But I was using a lot of food as well, using the white baits with the coffee cream in. So the fish were getting a bit of change out of it. It wasn't just a single hook bait. I was feeding them the same thing as well. So we did a talk for the CAA in Cheshire, in Wimslow, and John Baker came up and did a talk on photography. A bloke called Trevor Jones, Dave Powell, and Duncan Kay came. And I think there's someone else as well. My mate, Paul, who'd helped put this all together. So there was about 5 or 6 of us, and we thought, we'll go and read me. So I managed to get them a guest session. Stoke-on-Trent were running the club at the time. So they said, yeah, because they'd done a talk and all that. Listen, Jeff, who are the resident bailiffs on the estate and, custodians of the estate fisheries, they said, yeah, it's fine. Because they was to do with the CAA and BSSG. They said, yeah, you can take them. So the only place I could sit 5 or 6 was on the meadow. And the meadow had no track record of doing fish in the winter. And I remember John turning up and he went, mate, he says, you think them single hook baits of yours are all right? He said, I'm going to kick your ass and make you look stupid with the ones I brought. I thought, this I have to see. So I caught 4. No one else had a bite, and John was right next to me, and his didn't budge. In the end, he took one of my baits off me and got a run on it, and lost it at the net. And what I'm trying to say is, maybe he had low levels of flavour in, I don't know, or whatever he had. It's easy to say something's better than anybody else's, but actually proving it's another thing, isn't it?
It is, mate. Do you remember what baits you were using at the time?
That was the coffee cream,
right.
the whites. Yeah, and I had slightly off white actually because I was using some Solgar liquid liver in there, which was it was what was it? No, it was a bodybuilding liver I was using, and I was always big on liver in the food baits as well. I used to use a pound in 10 kilos of base mix.
Yeah.
I used the Solgar Argentinian beef human grade liver. And also that's what I was using in the hook baits as well. I was using vanillin.
What's that? Sorry. What is that?
Vanillin. It's
sorry. It's the vanillin. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the way
it's one of the very better. It's one of the better attractors, mate.
What it is, it's crystallized, precipitated down from the distilled vanilla beans.
Yeah.
And they use
mess around with vanilla pods.
Oh god, yeah. I use it in the hemp,
but
I use the vanilla pods in my hemp.
Yeah.
People use garlic and other things in hemp, but I use the vanilla pods. Is just ridiculously brilliant.
Ridiculously expensive as well, aren't they?
It is. But the vanillin, I got it. There was a guy that used to come in Trev's of Wimslow years ago, and he worked at McVitie's in Stockport.
Yeah.
And he used to be one of the foremen, and they kept it under lock and key because it's so expensive, the vanillin crystals.
Yeah.
And it was in a metal cage with a special combination lock on it. So he used to get me shitloads of this stuff. And I already knew about it, but and was using it, but I couldn't get it at the same price that he got it with free of charge.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that quite extensively, and that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think they use 4 kilos to 20 ton of chocolate.
Yeah.
They can't make chocolate without it.
No.
It gives it its special taste.
Is it's special stuff, isn't it? For carp, I mean. Well, for humans as well.
Yes.
But...
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's quite an interesting thing. I mean, I've also messed around with vinegar in baits.
Acetic acid.
Yeah.
Very good.
Of course it is. I mean, you only have to just realise the difference in your fish and chips with it on, don't you?
I don't like vinegar. My wife absolutely fucking douses their chips in vinegar. I can't stand it. But
I mean, some of the other things that I've used that have been quite obscure of the mustard as well. I've used mustard seeds.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's worked because of the quite strong, overpowering. I mean, chilies as well. You know what chilies do, don't you? They irritate the taste buds.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things about chilies. I mean, the thermic effect as well. But if you think of winter fishing, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think carp have got 110,000 taste buds, and we've got 10,000. And the chilies irritate them all. And do you know when your eyes start running and your nose runs when you've had red hot curry or chili, that's red hot peppers?
Yeah,
that's because it's irritated our taste buds. And your eyes are watering, trying to get it out of your system. But it's almost like that pleasure and pain thing, where you actually get you crave something that's really spicy and hot because it's triggering endomorphs in your brain. I think it is.
The capsaicin, which is the active part of the chili, it has a profound effect on your brain and your brain waves as well. The frequency in your brain waves. I don't know the exact what it is, but I know it affects it.
Yeah.
And it can change your sleep and all manner of things. It basically, the capsaicin has a profound effect on your brain. So, and like you say, you crave it, don't you? I do. I go for a stage where I'm having a lot of spice in my foods and stuff, and then I don't have it. I'm almost sort of like verging on withdrawal symptoms. I feel myself like really wanting it, And it's interesting.
Yeah, I often wonder about whether it irritates their eyes, though. In the liquid gas in the water.
Yeah, with spicy baits, that's what I always am hesitant of. Everyone says, "Oh, it just flies through them." They're shitting out. Well, brilliant, but is that having some kind of irritation within the gut tract?
Jesus, yeah, you've only got to touch your eye when you've been handling chilies. Even wash your hands, and it's just excruciating the pain of it.
Yeah.
Never mind when you're having a piss afterwards.
yeah, you got to use one hand for the chilies, mate. The other hand for your old boy. Yeah. You're absolutely right, though. It's chili's powerful stuff, really.
Oh God, yeah. It's a bit like using that. When you get the cheap shower gels, and you get the mint and. You know what I mean, don't you? That blue bottle stuff that should have a skull and crossbones with a dick underneath it.
It'll take your fucking eye, the first layer of your eye off as well. You ever get that stuff in your eyes? It's absolutely fucking savage. That being said, we were talking about essential oils. These shower gels that are rich in essential oils, they're some of the worst for getting in your eyes as well.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah, I'm sure some of them act as a repellent because of that if they're too strong.
Well, you think
flying in the face that though? You must. Something just struck me and come to my mind. When I had the bait company, we had a guy called Howard Whittaker there, and his eyesight was going. He was 50 something. Good old boy, but his eyesight was shot. So we had a recipe for some of the singles, And it had garlic oil in it, one of them, with the squid. Called it hot squid. And I was always very careful with the garlic. And he did these baits and they absolutely blew your tits off. I thought, what the fuck's going on here? He'd misread the decimal point and put 10 times the amount of garlic in essential oil.
That's one of the strongest essential oils you can get.
Yeah, and that's one that I found really didn't work if you overdid it in the past when I was messing with singles.
I agree with you, yeah.
So they refused to, Phil Davey and him refused to throw them away. I said, no, just put them in the bin. They said, oh, we'll just keep them and just send them out. I said, no, we don't want anyone wasting time testing these. So they didn't listen, and they sent them to some of their mates who were testing the baits. It was ridiculous, the captures on it. I mean, crazy ridiculous. Getting all these reports back, oh, it's just phenomenal. Can we have some more? And I just was flabbergasted with that. I thought, oh, I've seen it all now. So you think you know something, and then something will fly in the face of it, you know. And I was astonished by that. And I had to go back to the drawing board with that one. And yeah, very strange. And one of the things I heard you talk about in the past was I had this idea. I love ginger biscuits, ginger nuts. I really like them. And I like ginger cake. So I thought, right, I'm going to do a ginger bait. It's going to be a big success. Never heard of anyone doing this before. So I did a bait with the ginger and modest amounts of attractor in it, you know. And got the flavour that was based on, you know, the real ginger root made up. Couldn't catch a fish on it. No. Just could not catch a fish on it. No. And that's when, you know, an half decent bait would catch, whether it was, you know, it was in the 80s when you'd expect it, you know, before the hair had really faded off a little bit. So you could virtually use most things and get plenty of bites. But no, like a repellent.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Same when I tried making a bait with all the ingredients for chocolate in, like, you know, that you'd expect that to be brilliant, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it's hard to get a good chocolate flavor. In my
opinion. Well, I was using, you know, the Cadbury's hot chocolate powder in the base mix and everything.
Yeah,
you know, and that just blew out. That was crap.
Then you got something like Choc B from Unbar, which is I don't know if you rate it. I think it's fucking fantastic stuff.
Unbar Rothon.
Yeah.
Matthew, I know Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew Rothon. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, good, decent bloke.
He is. Yeah. He certainly seems it.
Yeah.
So just to pedal back a little bit, the obviously you said, well, you didn't, but what I'm getting is you go pretty high with flavors, but essential oils you'll be a little bit more kind of reserved.
Yeah, definitely.
What are you talking? I mean, for me, I think most essential oils, they vary so much. Per one egg hook bait, I'd use them anywhere between 1 drop and probably the max I go is 8 drops.
6 drops, me.
6. Okay, so you're right. So I didn't know if you were going to be like, oh yeah, take it easy. I only use like 1 mil or something fucking crazy.
No. That's 18 drops, generally speaking, isn't it? 1 mil.
Depends on the viscosity, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
They're all a little bit different, but yeah.
No, I mean, typically amongst my favourite essential oils are Lang Lang is a good one.
Yeah, not many people use that.
No, very florally in that, but I like that one. Obviously, black pepper. That's one of the best.
Yeah. Didn't you? I'm sure I might be wrong. Actually,
grapefruit is ridiculously brilliant.
Yeah, grapefruit's good. You've used black pepper at high levels, haven't you? Or is that someone else I'm thinking of?
I've used it slightly higher than, you know, the others. That's the one that I'd use more of.
Right.
But No, I generally found that if it just complements some of the flavors that I like, the basically I use it a lot with uh, squid, octopus, crab, all the shellfish ones, or pepperami type ones.
They almost have an element of that peppering in anyway, don't they?
Yeah. So I like that kind of complementary side to it.
Yeah.
Um, but I do like some of the tangerine and
Yeah.
lemon, lime,
You can go quite high with them.
grapefruit. Sorry?
You can go higher with those citrusy ones than a lot of the others I've found.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, a lot of the flavors have got the essential oils in,
Yeah.
that gives him. There's an interesting thing. Have you ever tried any of the smoke flavors?
I have looked into it, but I'm not quite sold on it, in all honesty.
Well, that's the complete polar opposite to me, then.
Yeah. Isn't this what makes it interesting, though?
Yes, it is, because I've found. Let's put it this way: if you were, I know it's a human thing. It probably goes back to our ancient instincts. If you were to choose between a normal herring or a smoked herring, which would you prefer the taste of?
Mate, I hate fish, so you're asking the wrong person. I'd imagine
Okay,
most
would you
people would
rather
say
have just a plain cheese, one of the Dutch type cheeses, or a smoked cheese?
I'd choose
Smoked
plain
bacon or plain bacon?
I'm not trying to be awkward, mate, but I'd choose plain cheese. I'd definitely choose smoked bacon, though. No question.
Well, most people go for smoked bacon.
Yeah, I'd go for smoked bacon. I wouldn't go for
Yeah,
smoked cheese. I mean, yeah.
yeah. Well, um, it's. Do you know when you barbecue food,
Yeah.
it sets off a complete set
Oh,
of different taste buds?
yeah, I love it. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
with you.
and they found out that animals do, and when that's uh, distilled off, the actual smell of a barbecue and smoke and put into a flavour that triggers feeding response from fish,
Mm.
which didn't surprise me at all when I was reading about the research on it.
I guess does it matter what the smoke, I mean, what are they using to give it that smoke flavor? Does it matter what method they're using, or is it just one thing?
Well, there's dry smoking and uh, sorry, hot smoking, and then there's cold smoking. There's two
Right.
different types,
Right.
and they use loads of different types of wood. Like cherry wood, and
Yeah.
they can be cedar, and different types of wood give a different smell. Oak, and but there's roughly 10 smoke flavors that you can get. When you mix them in combinations, they're very interesting.
You messed around with liquid smoke.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you remember a thing called, well, thinking out loud, maple smoke concentrate that Duncan Kay did?
No, I don't.
Yeah, he brought it out for mixing with particles, and that was
How long
something.
ago was that? Might have
Oh,
been.
that was in the early 80s.
Oh, mate, I was a baby.
No, I know, but I thought you might have,
No,
from sort of reading back over things. I suppose it would have been
no.
before your time. Yeah,
It doesn't ring a bell, mate, to be
yeah,
honest. My memory's absolute dog shit though, so I might
yeah.
have heard of it.
Hey, shall I tell you? Shall I tell you something for the listeners that'll make you laugh?
Yeah, cool.
I joined the BCSG in 1984. I applied for it before then, but they said I hadn't fished enough waters. Well, what they didn't realise was I'd been banned from driving 3 times,
Yeah.
which is why I ended up racing the superbikes, because I was always a lunatic on the road on bikes, big Kawasaki's and everything. So, I was at racing speed all the time. So it was no wonder I got banned. So I couldn't really get around too much. And then once they realised what I was catching off Reedsby, and a lot of them started to fish it and realised it wasn't a walkover, they suddenly let me in. What happened was they realised I was quite talkative and fairly inventive, I suppose. So they used to task me with choosing the subjects at the monthly meeting to talk about. they say, right, Frank, go on. Do you want to start things going? I say, yeah. What do you think of this? And there was quite a few members that just used to suck it all in, but never contributed, And so I started thinking, I'll have a bit of a laugh here, because they were like trying to get all what they could out of it and just take it away. But there's some lads in there that were quite interesting, and there was Ronnie Hewitt and Jeff Denny, and they were quite inventive, them pair. And when you're seeing this twig thing of Aliamides, well, we were messing around with trigger rigs in the early 80s. And Jeff Denny and Ronnie came in with this thing, and it was like an inline lead that had been bored out. And it had some rigid aquarium tube on it. And up the inside of it was surgical elastic with a swivel on the top of the elastic that went up the middle of the tubing. And then through that tubing, there was several holes bored at an angle. And then there was a hook length with the bait on the end and a piece of nylon coming off the hook length. And it had just the shank of a nut with the eye on it. So you'd pull the rubber with the swivel on it up the inside of the tubing and then put this pin in, which was a hook where the bend had been cut off. So diagonally, and then that tubing was dying to recoil and fire. And once that hook length had been messed with, it'd pull that piece of nylon, it'd pull it out and then fire the whole thing up in the air. And they demoed it on the table. And they'd overdone it with the elastic in it. It was like some brown surgical elastic. And this bastard thing, it would have nailed your balls to your forehead. It jumped about 3 feet off the table when it was triggered. And we were killing ourselves laughing. And Jeff Denny, he was always coming up with stuff. He was rolling leaves around the lead to camouflage his lead. So his leads looked like a King Eddie cigar. And so, we're coming out with all these jokes, like, is that a 3-ounce lead and stuff like that? And I realised that I'd have a bit of fun with them all. So I said, I've been on a big run of success catching some fish. So I said, okay, boys, I'm going to tell you what I've been doing, using for bait. And I had been using 10 millis, admittedly, which wasn't usual in them days. And because all we had was the little garden roller balls. And I'd got myself a 10 mil one of them little tiny things that took you about 3 weeks to roll a kilo of bait. Yeah. But it worked, Anyway, I said, I was on Cape Stone Hall and I was seeing the cows wading out in the lake. And this was actually true, and they were shitting in the lake. And the carp were feeding amongst the shit that they were doing, that liquid shit when it goes in the water.
Yeah.
And they were crashing out and going crazy, feeding on it. It was almost like the effect a dog has when it rolls in fox shit.
Yeah.
And they had to be feeding on it. They had to be. So I said, I'd witnessed that, and then I suddenly seen that there was a load of rabbits in the field and they'd all been shitting. And I says, what I'd got there was a load of ready-made 10 millers.
Yeah.
So I said, you're not going to believe this, I says, but I've tried them and caught a load of fish on them. They're ridiculous. And their faces, none of them thought I was taking the piss. They all thought it was real. So they disappeared. And I was killing myself laughing in my head. I was dying to laugh. And I went back next time. And Jeff Denny's there with his pipe. And he went, he says, I've gone right into this rabbit shit thing. He said, was it first time or second time? And I knew straight away what he meant. Rabbits re-eat their own shit.
Right.
They don't get enough protein out of it the first time they've had it through the system, so they re-eat it to get all the extra nutrients out of it when it's partly pre-digested. And I happen to know this, and I said, "You crafty bastard, Jeff." I said, "Now," I said, I said, if you use it when it on the second, it floats. I said, so he has to be a first timer.
Jesus Christ, mate.
So he'd obviously been going into it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I did laugh.
Fucking
I thought,
can you imagine though if it was actually a game changer?
I know, mate. I know.
Yeah.
You never know. It might be.
No, you never know.
Yeah. I can just imagine some of the listeners going out harvesting some of that in the field.
Have you seen this cat shit coffee that people pay a fucking fortune for? Psst. If you're still here and you happen to be listening on the Apple Podcast app or Apple iTunes, please take a few moments, leave me a review, let me know how we're doing with this podcast. A, it's really nice to hear from you, and B, it helps this podcast stay relevant and stay in the ratings. If it doesn't stay in the ratings, it falls behind, people don't listen to it, and obviously that means there's not much point me doing it anymore. So if you can take a moment to leave me a review, I'd really appreciate it. If you're not listening on an Apple device, I don't think you can leave us a review, unless there's some means that I'm not aware of, but nonetheless, I appreciate you listening. It does mean a lot to me. And feel free to reach out on social media. That's it. I look forward to bringing the next episode to you very soon.